Where the story goes, we follow. Chris Smith on today's News Talk, TNT Radio.
This is TNT. I do want to get to our tech guru. Techadvice.live is the website you've got to go to, and there you will find Alex Zaharov-Reutt's reports and his videos and his presentations and everything else associated with cyber and tech. Alex, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Smithy. Great to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. How is your Saturday night program going, by the way?
Wonderfully. I had an excellent interview both with Brett Levy talking about eSports and how that's a huge industry, bigger than Hollywood in terms of revenue. And also I spoke again with Dr Natalia Ilyushina, and we had sort of a part two discussion of the one we had a couple of weeks ago about AI and whether AI is taking jobs and the ethics and regulations and data privacy. So that was really great to speak with Dr. Ilyushina again. And another great show lined up for this Saturday. So thanks to you. It's all happening, and please come and watch.
Good stuff. All right. Neuralink implants brain chip in first human. The implants have begun. Explain what's going on.
Sure. Well, these implants are for people who are quadriplegics. They've lost use of their limbs. And this is a precise robotically implanted brain-computer interface. And the first version is called telepathy. So people can actually type just by thinking. They can control things just by thinking. And last year, we were speaking about it. Elon Musk got the first of the FDA approval to do a trial in humans. And before that, he'd done some of the trials in monkeys. And there was a bit of a scandal. One of the monkeys passed away. But one of the monkeys was able to play Pong just by thinking. And so now the very first one of these trials has been done. We don't know too much, but they say it's gone very well. So, one day you may have quadriplegia or dementia, and you might get one of these implants that can restore you back to operating normally by giving you effectively superpowers.
It's magic stuff. Like literally, if technology can be described as magic, this is magic stuff. And I think we've got to give Musk a little bit of slack here. If things do go wrong as we get down this track of inserting the chip, I think we've got to give him some slack, because at least he is trying to jump further ahead and help people who wouldn't normally be helped.
Absolutely. And this is something that, again, like you said, it was just science fiction years ago. If you could tell people 10 years ago that they could be using their brains to control things just by thinking about it, you would have thought that it was never possible. And here we are, 2024. First human trials have been done. It'll be the first of many. Obviously, it's people who need this at first, whether this will be abused in the future and people will want to get these sort of implants to try and get to some sort of a artificial boost, like people are taking various forms of amphetamines in low doses to try and juice their behavior, or that movie Limitless with I forget his name now, but the famous actor, who could take a pill and suddenly could do all these things in record time. I mean, if you can augment your brain with a chip, you can achieve the same sort of things. And so in the future, this could be abused, but for now, it's for people who couldn't be helped in any other way.
Yeah, exactly. We should be very supportive of it. Now, we all got rid of the floppy disk, I don't know, about 15 to 20 years ago. Yeah. Japan has continued to use floppy disks. Why is that, and why have they now decided to get rid of it?
Well, because the discs are archaic. I mean, there can't be too many factories left still making them. Nobody uses them. But in Japan, they've had regulations that various communications to the government and by the government have needed to be not only on floppy disks, but burnt onto CDs. I mean, who burns CDs anymore?
Right.
And even mini discs. Well, these are archaic regulations. I mean, the speed of government, as we know, can be very slow. And look, some of these conditions were decided to be done away with in 2022. But even though they're now saying that we want to stop the use of floppy disks, there are still going to be some instances where it's still required. So Japan's probably the only place in the whole world where anybody, and this is the government wastage and all the rest, they're still buying floppy disks. And even though they're now going to stop use of it, it's still going to be in use in some places. So will Japan have stopped use by 2033 or 34? I don't know, but hopefully.
I had a library of floppy disks, and I put things on the floppy disk that I thought I would keep forever, but it's no good keeping it forever because you can't do anything with it. None of my laptops take a floppy disk.
Look, I still have a couple of 3.5-inch drives that connect to a computer via USB. They were from some very old Dells, and I still have them, and I still have some old floppy disks, but I mean, I haven't plugged it in and used it in well over a decade. It's just there for nostalgic's sake. But funnily enough, in Japan, the government's still using them. Even though this edict is in place, people still, right this very second, are copying something to a disk to give to the government. Crazy.
Okay. Now, read between the lines for me. What is Apple doing delaying the launch of their EVs?
Well, look, it's very difficult to make a car that can be truly autonomous. Apple wanted to delete the gas pedal and brakes and steering wheels from their cars completely. They wanted full level 5 autonomy so that the car could drive itself flawlessly every time. But they started this project in 2014. Here we are in 2024, and the car was supposed to come in 2028. I mean, it was supposed to be here by now. Now they're saying it's going to be delayed till 2028. And of course, in the States, we have Hertz that's decided to sell a third or half of its fleet. We've got EV cars piling up in showrooms because there's a glut of them. And we even had the problem in Chicago where people are trying to charge their cars and the doors won't open and the batteries are half frozen. And so there's definitely EVs to some degree, in the States at least, have gone a little bit off the boil.
Yeah, they sure have. And what's happening in the States needs to be a lesson to every other country as well. But last month on your website, you interviewed the chief of car manufacturer BYD. His name is Luke Todd. Now, BYD has every reason to crow at the moment, haven't they?
Absolutely. They have surpassed Tesla now as the number one EV in the world. They're from a company that was making batteries for mobile phones from this size down to this size for 30 years. So they know how to make sure they don't start spontaneously exploding. But have a listen to this clip about just how big BYD is in Australia and globally.
We've got now the largest EV footprint, whether it's service, retail, including our digital presence, of any automotive EV brand in Australia. The launch of BYD, in fact, over the last 18 months has been the most successful new car launch of any brand ever in Australia's history. So we're expanding very quickly, but what we're doing is really just what's been happening around the world for the last 5 or 10 years. We're expediting it and bringing it all to make more Australians avail themselves of the EV technology, the best EV technology in the world. And that's what we're very proud about.
So, Alex, how did they get on top of this over the likes of Tesla? Is it because they're producing what they think they can sell as opposed to overproducing, or they don't have the same dramas with technology? What is it?
I think it's more of a case that they don't necessarily have the same dramas with technology. Manufacturing in China, they would have a lower cost base than Tesla. They've got plenty of different battery technologies to choose from. And I mean, there's so many more factories in China. And also, for example, with BYD in Australia, when they had all those delays over the past couple of years through COVID, they had to develop different ways of getting ships into the country. So they had different ships and they just wanted to avoid having these different problems. So the Chinese are very resourceful and smart. And I mean, Elon Musk gets some of his cars made in Shanghai because he recognizes, the importance of the Chinese manufacturing base as well. But BYD has been around, as I said before, for over 30 years making all those batteries. And so they're a phone battery company that's become a car company, as opposed to Elon Musk sort of helping to create a car company from nothing. So they've got their strengths, and the Chinese can afford to make things cheaper and make it up later on as a bit of a loss leader. And they've got 3 cars now in Australia under $50,000. Those cars were expected to be $15,000 higher in price. So they've really shocked the market. And you go into the Westfield shopping centers in Australia or around the world, you see a pop-up, it's a BYD. And I see more and more of them on the streets now. I see them as often as I see Teslas in Australia.
Yeah, very true. I see them quite often too. So that's a really terrific result for them. Great story as well. I want to talk about AI and a number of other things right after I take a break, Alex. I've got to do that. We'll do that right now on TNT.
Sometimes life can be overwhelming, and suicide may seem like the only way to relieve the pain. Beyond Now is an evidence-based app created by Beyond Blue to help you cope when suicidal thoughts start to appear. You can use it to create an easy-to-follow plan that is personal to you and includes steps like know your warning signs so you can act early, make your environment safe by removing harmful items, activities you can do or people you can be with to distract yourself from suicidal thoughts, reminders of things that make you feel strong. Some of these steps might be tough to fill out, and that's okay. It can be helpful to make or share your safety plan with a trusted friend, family member or mental health professional. You might feel like you're alone, but help is available. If you're worried you can't stay safe, use the red telephone icon to call your emergency contacts. Download the free Beyond Now app today to create your personal safety plan.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/act now.
You're with Chris Smith on today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
Can't believe we've already got to the back end of the program. Lots to talk about today, lots of people to talk to, which is the way we like it. Alex Zaharov-Reutt is from TechAdvice.live. Alex, ChatGPT 5 is coming soon. How much better will it be, the 5?
Well, I mean, if you thought ChatGPT 3.5 in November 22 was good, and then the March update, which allowed you to have text and images, and then in November we had ChatGPT Turbo, 4 Turbo, which you could have videos and all these other things. It was super fast. Well, sometime in quarter 2, which is April, May, or June, we're going to see ChatGPT 5 launch, and that's going to blow things out of the water. It's going to almost seem like it's superhuman. And interestingly, there's a big fight between ChatGPT, OpenAI, and Google. Google's Bard Pro, its version of Bard, that is sort of the one in the middle, has actually beaten every other version of GPT-4 except GPT-4 Turbo. So they're now in number 2 spot. And so in the next couple of months, we'll see GPT-5 launched, and we'll also see Google's yet to be released Bard Ultra. So who's going to win, ChatGPT-5 or Bard Ultra? There's going to be a big fight between the two. It'd be fascinating to see. They're each going to want to claim supremacy over the other.
So how are we measuring this? What are we saying? That they just do the same things faster, or they do different things?
Well, it's the complexity of what they can do. Like when they launched ChatGPT 4 Turbo, they had a demonstration where they showed a guy taking a photograph of a bike seat, and he asked the ChatGPT, how do I change this seat? And it said, okay, well, you need to move this lever, unscrew it, and push the seat down, screw it back. Then the guy took a photograph of one of those toolkits that had all these different screwdrivers and nuts and bolts inside. And he said to the ChatGPT, do I have the right tools in this toolkit? And also, here's a picture of the instruction manual. Do I have the right tools that this instruction manual talks about? And it looks at it and says, yep, you got the right tools. You got to get the nut and bolt on the 4th row, grab that one, then you unscrew this thing on the seat, move this up and down, screw it up. So it's giving you these detailed instructions that normally you would need to pay a plumber for, to how to fix something, or the bike guy. And ChatGPT 5 is going to just do that and more with vision, with seeing things. You'll show it pictures of, like I just said, you show pictures of things and it's understanding it. So this is going to seem, again, like instead of talking to a 15-year-old who's aced year 9, you're going to be talking to like a university graduate that like knows it inside out.
Now, I know that Elon Musk is a little bit busy at the moment, in particular with his brain implants, but he's also got time to, do his own AI project. Where is that up to?
Well, Grok is still not yet released to the general public. You need to be a Premium Plus subscriber. So Premium is the blue tick. That's about $14 a month. To get Premium Plus is $28. So the general public hasn't used Grok, but Grok has been widely quoted by different people. But Musk has announced that Grok 1.5 is coming very soon. And he's also announced that his Tesla is going to spend $500 million, $500 million US to buy a whole stack of AI chips for data centers and supercomputers, a stack from Nvidia and also a stack from AMD, who have their Nvidia beating chips. So Elon Musk is going all in on AI, and an update to Grok is coming soon, very soon too.
Okay. Now, if people aren't paying attention to the scam industry at the moment, they must be living under a rock, because it is rife. What's Optus doing with scam-wise, Alex?
What they're doing is something that we've seen from Telstra and Vodafone as well. They're stopping 2 million scam calls and 2.8 million scam SMS messages a day in their internal systems from actually arriving on the phones of their customers. But of course, as we've all seen, those sort of messages still manage to leak through. So if the phone companies like Optus and Telstra Vodafone weren't doing all this blocking at a network level, we'd just be inundated. We wouldn't be able to use our phones because we keep on getting fake calls and pings and messages and missed packages and all the rest. So they're working very hard. Look, their reputational damage was there from the network failure last year and the hack. And I guess this is a bit of good news, but this is the things that banks and phone companies and utilities have to do to protect their customers, us, from being hassled, scammed, and the scamming's never been as bad as it is today, and it's only getting worse.
It is only getting worse. I'm glad you mentioned that, and so well done to Optus for at least getting down the right path. Now, I mentioned on the program yesterday about this deep fake that Taylor Swift has been embroiled in, where Taylor is seen, and it looks to be incredibly genuine, technically, visually genuine, involved in a sex act. She is like angry as hell, although she's focused a little bit more on the Super Bowl at the moment. What do you do about all of this? Now, I'm one that sort of suggests let things roll, because it will be what it is, and there's nothing that you can do to get into the way of it. But, you know, if I was a person that was faked like Taylor Swift was, and it's easy for us to be cynical and go, oh, don't worry, Taylor's a billionaire, it'll be fine, she'll look after herself. We know it's a fake. But for normal, everyday people who may have a dispute with someone who's handy using AI, they could easily become the victim of a deep fake.
They could. And look, celebrities have been photoshopped onto the bodies of sex workers for the last 20 years, long before AI could do it for you.
True.
If you ask ChatGPT to do that, and to put some famous celebrity's head on or doing something, it'll say it can't do it. So people are using like Rogue or, you know, GPTs that they've hacked or they've removed the safeguards to create these images, which, again, if you ask Microsoft Copilot or Google Bard or ChatGPT to do it, it'll just point blank refuse. It'll say it won't do it. In fact, I've seen these posts on the internet where you ask it to make a joke about Jesus Christ, it'll quite happily do it. But if you ask it to make a joke about the Muslim religion, it says, oh, sorry, can't do that. So, I mean, there's all sorts of weird standards where it's okay for one and not okay for the other. But we're in the age of thousands of different AI programs, and people have been able to figure out how to get AI to do these sorts of things. Now, people like Twitter, X, and Facebook, they have to take these things down. Sometimes they don't take things down. They make it difficult for you to complain. Whether there needs to be some sort of edict from the government that says, look, if there's been a legitimate complaint, you've got to take this thing down within hours and not leave it up for days. I don't know. We've got to be careful not to have too much regulation, as we spoke about with Dr. Natalia Ilyushina. But when people are being harassed like this, then some sort of action needs to be taken. And you also have the other side of the coin where someone like Kim Kardashian, I think, some of these people release their sex tapes on purpose to get the notoriety, as opposed to having deepfakes created. So some people do it on purpose. Other people are victims. But I mean, you did say it yourself, we don't have to be too worried about Taylor Swift. But by the same token, if it was your son or daughter or relative, we wouldn't be too happy about it.
No, you're right. All right. The Australian government is going to boost mobile coverage on highways. I came back from Yamba in the middle of January, and I can't tell you the number of times on a 6-lane motorway coming back into Sydney that I lost internet connection. Now, I didn't drive for some of that trip, so I was looking forward to getting some work done and doing my the stuff that I normally do, but so often I didn't have internet connection, and I thought then we've got to do better than this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a surprise to think that we don't have great internet on the freeway. As I've been driving between Sydney and Canberra for, I don't know, more than a decade, like 20 years, I've noticed in the past year or so that there are times when the phone suddenly says 3G and I'm listening to TNT radio or I'm listening to some podcast or something, and suddenly it cuts out because it's gone to 3G. Yeah. The phone companies have been removing all the 3G towers because they're switching it off by the middle of the year, and they're putting in 4G, but there's a gap between when the 3G is switched off and the 4G is switched on. Now, the last trip I made was on the weekend to Sydney. I'm in Sydney right now. And I actually didn't notice that. And I know that there's been a lot of work done. And look, the government, Michelle Rowland, the communications minister, has announced that there is a regional roads Australia mobile program. They're putting in $50 million. Not only are they going to be upgrading the existing infrastructure, but they're going to actually be also putting in new towers from the, if Telstra's there, they're going to put in Optus and Vodafone towers too. And this is not just so that you can get your 000 calls, piggybacking from one carrier to another, but so that people can have much stronger phone and mobile service along the freeways and major roads of Australia, so we don't get that dreaded signal. And yes, we're going to have Elon Musk and Amazon satellites giving it to us. It'll come to our unmodified mobile phones, but that's all still 2 or 3 years away. These other towers can be put up much faster, and I'm glad to see the government putting some money into it. It's a real problem that needs to be solved.
Exactly, does need to be solved. One last one, the Global Safer Internet Day is coming next week.
Yeah, it's on Tuesday the 6th. And if you go to the esafety.gov.au website, they've got the Australian information there. They're telling us to connect safely by keeping apps and devices secure and reviewing your privacy settings regularly. They can reflect on how your actions online may affect others or your safety. And you can also protect yourself and others by visiting esafety.gov.au to find out how to stay safe online and report online abuse. And they have information for parents, for kids, for schools, lots of great information there. Check it out. Safer internet. Every day should be Safer Internet Day, but don't let yourself or your kids be, groomed by people online who are connecting to them through games or through whatever other services. Take responsibility. Have a safe environment for your kids. Surf with them. Go on social media with them. Teach them. Explain things to them. Don't leave it up to the internet to be the babysitter. Otherwise, you might lose your kids.
That is very, very true. Don't leave it to the internet to have its own rules. You've got to get over their shoulder and be part of it. Don't think you can't do that, and don't think you don't have a responsibility to do it. That's a really good message, mate. I've got to let you go. We'll see you on Saturday night, which is Australian time, and we look forward to hearing you on TNT. Good on you.
I'll be back again next Wednesday. Thanks so much, Smithy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. You go to his website, of course, which is techadvice.live, for all of what we discussed and a whole heap more. You can do that right now. Alex Zaharov-Reutt, our Wednesday cyber and tech guru. I've got to get out of here. Dean Mackin is coming up next. I look forward to your company at the same time tomorrow. A lot of good things happening on the program tomorrow as well. I know you'll be interested. This is Chris Smith on TNT.
To hear a replay of this hour, go to episodes at TNTRadio.live. Now, TNT Radio News.
With your hourly news brief, I'm Matt Boyland.